Hey guys, Alex Kahn here. I'm at Disney Springs. I'm going to watch Jungle Cruise today, and I'm also going to look for Jungle Cruise merchandise, movie merchandise at Disney Springs. Let's see what we can find today. All right guys, I'm at the World of Disney. As far as Jungle Cruise merchandise goes, they got the board game here. They have an adult size Jungle Navigation Co. shirt, which is a movie shirt. They got the backside of water bottle. So here it's printed backwards, but when you turn it around, it's the backside of water. Then there's a children's Jungle Navigation shirt. And up here, this is kind of cool, the Adventurer's Pinata, and that's found at the Ganachery. Inside the pin trading store, they got the Jungle Cruise magic bands. All right, guys, so I just came back from Disney Springs watching the Jungle Cruise movie. Reason why I go to Disney Springs for a Disney movie is Disney Springs is on Disney property. So to get in the mood for a Disney movie, I like to go to Disney Springs. This review will be spoiler-free if you had seen all the Jungle Cruise trailers already. Basically what I'm saying is, if something was shown in the trailers, I think it's fair game for me to talk about. So, first off, I went to watch this movie at Disney Springs, and I was looking for movie merchandise. You know, I went to the World of Disney, which is their big store for Disney collectibles and souvenirs, and unfortunately, they didn't have much Disney or Jungle Cruise movie-specific merchandise. I want to give you my thoughts on this movie. And, yeah. So, before I start this review, I do want to say I did like this movie quite a bit. I would probably give it a solid 8 out of 10. But due to things that I'll talk about in a minute, I knocked off 2 whole points because something in that movie ruined it for me. Even though I liked the movie, this movie could have been great. It could have been a perfect movie. But the writers chose to go a certain route that the writers of Pirates of the Caribbean went, and I did not like it. I thought it was childish. Jungle Cruise, starring Emily Blunt and Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson, and quite a few other big stars. This movie is based upon the ride, which, you know, they have the ride at Disneyland. They have it at Magic Kingdom. The ride is it's like a 10-minute boat tour where you have a really cheesy, sarcastic skipper taking you around the jungle, you know, cracking these really bad puns and jokes and whatnot. So that ride is based upon The African Queen, which is an old movie starring Humphrey Bogart and Katharine Hepburn. And it's also based upon some nature documentaries. That was what the ride was based upon. The movie is based upon the ride, which is based upon The African Queen and those nature documentaries. I'm telling you that now because I'm about to go off on a tangent here. So, movie definitely pays a lot of homages to the ride itself. If you see in the trailers, you would see and hear all kinds of quotes taken directly from the ride. You know, the really sarcastic lines that the skippers say. And that's all in the trailer. That's not a spoiler. And I smiled. I loved it whenever I heard those skipper lines uttered by Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson. It was so cool. I love that. And, you know, the whole start of the movie was so cool because that just gave me vibes of the Jungle Cruise ride. Something else that's pretty similar to The African Queen, though. This movie, Jungle Cruise, is also set during World War I. So the setting of being in the jungle, the setting of World War I, and the costumes, they were all great homages to The African Queen. Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson even wears a costume that is almost exactly like Humphrey Bogart's costume in The African Queen. I think the only really big difference is that Humphrey Bogart did not have those yellow suspenders. But everything else seemed pretty accurate to what the Rock was wearing. Oh, I think also The Rock was wearing some covers over the end of the pants to make it look like he's wearing boots almost. But aside from that, it looks pretty much like Humphrey Bogart's costume in The African Queen. I thought the pacing of the movie was pretty darn solid. And then, oh man, this is going to irk me. And then the writers, they decided to throw in supernatural fantasy elements into this story. Something that the Pirates of the Caribbean also did. And this is all in the trailers, because if you watch the trailers, you got these people with snakes shooting out of their faces. That's supernatural undead. It did not need that. Honestly, when I watched Pirates of the Caribbean for the first time, I was also not digging those supernatural elements in those movies with Johnny Depp. I just didn't get it. I'm a huge Disney fan. I love the Pirates of the Caribbean ride as well. And never in my mind did it cross me that there should be, undead characters on that ride, let alone the movie. It just didn't make sense. Now, I'm a huge fan of the Jungle Cruise. I also like Splash Mountain and Haunted Mansion. But I love the Jungle Cruise. It's a very iconic, classic, Walt Disney ride. And never once in my life did I think there should be undead characters with snakes popping out of their faces. I did not get it. Sure, you can make it work, like in Pirates of the Caribbean. Jungle also made it work in the movie. But they didn't need to do that. It's like a kid came up with this idea, and then there was no executive in the office to say, no, that's a really childish, bad idea. That is really bad writing. Nobody said that to these people when they were brainstorming on the story for Jungle Cruise. No one said it to the Pirates of the Caribbean writers either. And it really irks me. Imagine making a movie about Test Track and some kid saying, we need some big monsters, some undead characters in the Test Track movie. Could you imagine that? And nobody saying no to it. That's what happened in Jungle Cruise. You did not need that storytelling in that. Like, for example, if you ever watched The African Queen, the movie had some problems. But one of the problems it didn't have was supernatural undead elements in it. They didn't have any of that in The African Queen. You didn't need to tell that story with it. It just didn't make any sense. And for people who know anything about the Jungle Cruise ride at Disney World or Disneyland, wherever you go to ride it, at least for me, I never once thought that the ride should incorporate monster people with snakes coming out of their heads. And if that wasn't enough, they went one step further with it, and that almost dropped the movie to a 7 out of 10 for me. It's just, what were they thinking? You don't need to do that. This isn't Pirates of the Caribbean. Pirates of the Caribbean didn't even need that, the supernatural elements in it. It just, why? Why did they do that? From what I understand, Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson is a huge fan of the Jungle Cruise ride. But I just can't see him, saying that it's okay to add these creatures in the movie. Because if he is a fan, I just can't see him, accepting this idea that the Jungle Cruise should be like Pirates of the Caribbean. It just didn't make any sense. Again, I liked the movie a lot. I just feel like that element alone is what ruined the Jungle Cruise for me. It could have been a great movie, but instead it just became a rehash of the Pirates of the Caribbean for me. But yeah, I loved everything about this movie except for that. I liked The Rock as the skipper. I loved Emily Blunt as his fare. And oh gosh, I am so in love with Emily Blunt. She is like, wow. And yeah, everything about, their banter together was pretty darn good. I loved the villains in this movie. The villains in this movie. We'll call them antagonists. And that alone was cool enough for me. They did not need these creatures in the movie. Seriously, like, throughout the movie, I was saying to myself, what child came in and wrote on the script that there should be monsters in this movie? It didn't need it. It really didn't need it. Anyways, guys, I want to know your thoughts on this movie. Were you bothered by the other antagonist of this movie? So yeah, I can't stress this enough. I did like the movie. I really did. All right, guys, post your thoughts. And I tried to be spoiler free, but if it's on the poster or on the trailers, I thought it was pretty fair game. But yeah, give me your thoughts, guys. Especially if you're an old Jungle Cruise skipper, I want to know your thoughts on the movie too. So, see ya.